Education special meeting for May 13th, 2014. Christine, can we please have a roll call?
Mark Berry.
Present.
Leanne Charlotte.
Present.
Julie Gottschall.
Present.
Richard Heck.
Present.
Christina Etchinger. Present. Writer. Absent.
We have a quorum, so we'll come to order, and we've already had a closed session, and we will now go into item number 3, public comment. If there's anybody who would like to address the board, please feel free to do so now. Since we have one person in the audience, we can make it personal. Okay. Seeing that nobody's going to address the board, we'll move on. But we welcome people in the future. If you want to come and address the board, please do so. Item 5, action items with discussion. And we'll start with item 5A.
Do you want to talk?
How about 4?
Oh, did I skip 4? No, sorry. I got it. I got it. Sorry. We start with item 4. I want to get the action, get it done. Discussion of the high definition camera system. I believe Gene and Jane later are going to talk to us about that.
Jane, do you want to give us kind of a brief overview?
I was asked to get a proposal for the camera system. We contacted our current provider, and they gave us the proposal information that we have a little bit more packets, and we're waiting for board's direction.
And we did talk in closed session about looking for possibilities for our requests for quotes and proposals. And knowing that, and the nature of some of the security needs to be discussed in closed session, strictly because it's confidential information on how we keep our kids secure. But we will go through our process, and we will be bringing items to you for your review and a plan for moving forward in the future, in the very near future.
And Jean, what we can do, because this is apparently a pretty high ticket item, we can design the request for proposals to offer maybe phases. So it might be something that we can do so much this year, you can add into it in the future, how much you want to, or but it will be an option for the board to look at maybe phasing in some equipment.
And I think that probably the RFP should have an element of audit, and not a specific audit, but what would be your recommendation for this building? What do you see are the obvious security shortfalls? How would you address this the best possible way, et cetera, et cetera?
Except that makes it difficult to evaluate based on price. If you let every vendor offer a different option as opposed to everybody bidding on the exact same plan. You know what I mean? You don't get
aren't they the experts though? I think they should be able to give us some idea of how to guard against the biggest problems.
But we've had an auditor come in, a person to come in and do an audit, or a company to do that. So maybe there's a hybrid where what we're asking people to bid on is what is recommended in that audit. And then if there's some other service or equipment that they want to suggest, they could do that.
Yeah, you need a baseline bid that they're all equal, bidding on the same thing, I think.
I'd like to hear different proposals.
Yeah.
People have different ideas about
Yes.
how to accomplish the same end, but we do have a quote already, which we can use as a benchmark. So perhaps we give them a particular budget based off what we have and ask what they would do.
This type of service, and because it's so highly technical, you certainly don't have to take the low bid. You're not
Correct.
going to buy the low bid. You want to buy the best product at the best price in your services. So it won't be like a sealed bid process. It's going to be, they're going to come in and say, here's what we're recommending, why, here's what we're recommending, why, and here's what we're recommending, why. You might like their why a lot better. It might cost you a couple of extra dollars, but you think it's service.
And this is all done in closed session because we're talking again about.
The details of that certainly would not be divulged.
And we're also talking about, I don't know if we made this clear, both schools, right? This
Yes.
is about the middle school and the elementary school, increasing the cameras to increase security at both places.
And can you just clarify for us what's in this year's budget as opposed?
Well, this year is going to end in next month, so
Right.
we're building the budget for FY15. So we still have time to get some.
So this would be included in
It'll be built into FY15.
And if we decided we wanted to do phase-ins for a couple of years, obviously we could spread it out over 2 years and that would give us leeway.
What did we have in the budget for this year?
For
For
security?
there was nothing. So that's what we're working on it. We're working on planning for next year's budget, which starts in July.
So what are we thinking about timing to come
But-
back with these kinds of?
I would say give me a couple months because I may want our new architect of record involved and we haven't
Yeah.
even done the interviews for
We're
that.
gonna need
So.
some experts to help us write this article.
Right.
I can tell you that.
And that's why I want to kind of hold off. We're going to do architect interviews. If all goes well, we're going to do them possibly at the second board meeting in June for the whole board so that everybody can kind of interview architects. So we may have to wait until we get a new architect.
The budget question I had is that I know that somewhere in the budget you have some line item for CapEx.
Correct.
Okay, so what would be interesting is at the end of the year, if we spent all the money, is there any rollover money, and then that would matter to me.
Well, the way we budget, we don't roll over. We start special capital.
No, I understand, but to the extent that it becomes part of the reserve, I mean, it's in fact a
That's
rollover.
right. Whatever we don't spend this year will become part of the reserve.
Right.
That's correct.
Okay,
We
so,
may have to evaluate that anyway if we
Yeah.
see the parameters of the fund balance policy we established.
okay,
But we are deficit spending.
Right.
The year that's back to end,
That won't happen this year.
Operating funds.
I think the other thing that I would like to look into, I have no hope in this, but it's worth looking into, is that the state is giving some grant money to districts for safety and security. So it'd be worth looking into and seeing what's involved in that.
yes,
So
I agree.
Anybody have
that
any
completes our report.
other questions for Jane or Jean on this? Comments? All right, so now we can go to action items. The first item under item 5 is item 5A, the appointment of a treasurer. And this is something that we must do every year. And we are proposing,
The school code is actually printed out at your seat, so you can see what the school code says about this. But we are required to do this, and the actual form is prepared in here for you to review. And we need to take action on that this evening.
So we need a first and,
so may I have a motion to approve the appointment of our new Director of Finance, Jay Kahn, and Operations / CSBO as District Treasurer for the 2014-2015 school year per Illinois School Code.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Leanne Charlotte,
Yes.
Julie Gottschall,
Yes.
Richard Hay.
Yes.
Christine Leitchinger, yes. John Rosen.
Yes.
Susan Ray, Mark Baird.
Yes. The motion is passed. So we move on to item 5B. We have, this item has to do with pre-kindergarten and early childhood student fees. And in your packet, you have a letter prepared by Director of Student Services, Dr. Kevin Rubenstein, explaining his recommendation. And maybe Jean and Kevin, I'm sorry for botching names, I apologize.
We call that too, that's why we think it's funny.
Kevin Steen? Yes.
I'm gonna turn it over to Kevin. He's
Yeah,
been-
if Kevin can summarize for us before we go to motion.
He actually worked with Jane on the financials back in the back, and then he prepared this memo to explain. I'm gonna turn it over to him.
All of it is explained in the memo there. Jane and I have been working together to set the fees related to the pre-kindergarten program that we are going to be offering beginning next year. So there are a couple of things that you would need to understand. First of all, we cannot charge tuition to students with special education needs, but we can charge them fees for the program. And so we're recommending to you that we set the fees for the early childhood program at $82.50 per child. That's the same that we would charge for a kindergarten student. And then for the general education students who are coming to us, we would ask that you approve a rate of $2,500 per year for tuition. Lake Bluff Park District currently charges $2,619 for 5 days a week which is what we're going to be charging. We wanted it to be competitive with Lake Bluff Park District, but along the same lines of what we offer our full-day kindergarten program. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
What's the basis for the 8250?
8250 is what we charge for our kindergarten students. It's the same as the half-day kindergarten
what's-
registration.
Right.
What's encompassed in that? I think that's what he's looking for. So I think, and I have to rack my brain, because as the administrative team, we talk about that, but it's things from.
Historically in the district, it was to help cover costs of supplies, materials, and things in the classroom. Registration fees are charged at all grade levels, K through 8.
Is that weird?
Yeah, I was just curious how you came up with 8250.
Yeah, the 50 cents was a great concern to me.
I just want to understand the math here. So the total program cost, of course, of the 160 and 199 is the teacher's cost and the supply cost, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then the 28, 125, that's the, of course, the cost, the staffing costs, correct?
The 28,125 is the current year's cost for our half-day EC program. So what I've done is next year we expand it to EC and pre-K full day. We're already investing
see.
28,000.
So this is
The
an
difference is
incremental.
the cost to expand it to all day and
Okay,
include
it's not the
regular.
total cost though, it's the incremental cost over this year, is what you're talking about.
Correct,
Okay,
correct.
the total cost is 100 and
$16,000 more or less.
plus 28.
Right.
No, the 28 is already
So the
included.
total is 116, right?
Okay.
Yes, yes.
So the incremental cost is 88,000 over this current year.
The
Okay.
cost to expand it for
Okay.
next year, yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. And then ongoing after that.
And the program will be capped at 10 students for the general education?
It will be kept at 12 students for general education. We would like to maintain manageable class sizes, and especially early childhood kids having more than 15 in a classroom is actually quite a bit and would be approaching what our kindergarten classrooms would be at. So we would want to cap it at 12 students general education. So 12 students in the morning, 12 students in the afternoon.
Is there any funding that supports this?
What?
I'm sorry. Any outside funding?
We get money from the federal government through the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act as part of our flow-through grants. It's
Minimal.
yeah, it's a small amount of money, and it can only go to supplement the spending that we are already doing in the classroom. It cannot supplant the spending that we do in the classroom.
So yes and no.
So I'm looking, oh, go ahead. Finish with your
One last question.
Go ahead.
Not that I have young kids anymore, but I know people who do, and they spend quite a bit of money on daily care. What's this work out to on an hourly basis, the $2,500 that a parent pays to have their kid come into the pre-K classroom, compared to, for example, what they might pay if the kid didn't come and they had to pay for home care?
Although this is going to be different from just childcare because the time frame that it's offered probably won't satisfy that for many people. It's like what, 8 o'clock to 10:45 or something.
It's 2.5 hours.
$14.20 a day.
For 2.5 hours.
For 2.5 hours.
So that works out to be,
Less than paying the babysitter.
it's a lot cheaper than babysitter. Well, yeah, less than that,
Less than
because it's 2.5 hours.
Bargain.
So it's 6 and some
Does
change.
it take seniors?
Kevin, I just had a question. What is the class size? You said there were maximum of 12 gen ed kids,
Yes.
and then so the complement would be the special ed kids, like
Special
4
kids.
or 3.
And so currently in that program, we have 7 special education students who are either 3 years old or 4 years old. And so we would be splitting them up because the 3-year-olds would be coming more than likely in the morning, and the 4-year-olds would be.
Right. So you have two sections.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Okay.
So barring unforeseen
Yes.
kids moving into the district or classifications that you weren't aware of?
Correct.
That's not, okay.
Correct. And I have to tell you, people, it is a little bit overwhelming. We get calls almost every day asking about for speech and language, special education in the district for early childhood kids. There's a high need for it.
What is the likelihood of general education kids going in a classroom with special needs kids? I'm just asking.
It is hard to, I don't know what will happen here in Lake Bluff because every district is
Right.
different. My experience with the programs in other districts is that it will start small and build from there. So while the first year we might be under our enrollment projections, as the time goes on, it fills up. People want their child. It would be perfect for a family who has maybe a kindergartner who is coming into Lake Bluff Elementary School this year, and who also at the same time has a preschool aged child who has not begun preschool in another program, like at the Park District or something along those lines. So,
And my experience has been different than Kevin's, because in both the districts that I've worked in, they filled up before any other classes, and there were waiting lines. Every
Well,
single
that's
year.
interesting. So you really, there's no pattern.
there's not a pattern. And years ago in my last district, they had a program, it ended up stopping. And when the law changed and there was new guidance from the state, then they started up the program again. It took a little bit of time to fill it during the course of the year, but by the end of the year, they were full. So,
All right, okay.
I mean, one of the issues that I see is that the rate compares favorably to the rate one would pay at the Park District.
absolutely, yes.
And so I'm hoping that, I mean, has there been an analysis done that if we get to full capacity at the elementary school, how the Park District program is going to fare? I'd hate to see that program decimated because they can't get a critical mass because people are going to go.
Right. Dr. Sophie had a meeting with some staff from the Park District several weeks ago to talk about the impact of our programs on their programs and what that looks like. And then also about how the two governing bodies could work together better in the future in terms of some of the after-school programs and what that might look like, and some of the programming that we currently do in-house that maybe they could look at doing in the future.
That
So we don't
relationship is
cannibalize
very
their
important to us.
Yeah.
So,
And so we think that with the cap, the Park District program will survive and there's enough kids to fill both.
They're currently turning people away at the Park
Okay.
District. So.
Okay, good.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Concerns or comments? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the pre-kindergarten and early childhood student fees for the 2014-2015 school year?
So moved.
Somebody take the second.
You got it?
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Julie Gottschalk,
Yes.
Richard Hick,
Yes.
Chris Letchinger, yes. John LaRosen,
Yes.
Mark Barry,
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte.
Yes.
The motion has passed. Moving on to item 5C, purchase of property. The district has been looking, to give some people some background, the district has been having conversations with the owners of the property located at the northwest corner of Washington and Green Bay, in front of the current elementary school. There's two small wooded lots there. And we have recently made an offer, and it has been accepted to go into contract to purchase that property for a purchase price of $167,000 and $167,500. This is a conversation that has been had between the district and the owner and the realtor for a number of months now. The property came on the market and was offered to us. We had not an assessment, is it called an assessment?
appraisal.
An appraisal of the property done at it was appraised at $175,000, and we offered 160, we have come to an agreement at $167,500, so we're below that appraised value. And we've had a series of conversations in closed session about this for the past several months. And the board has come to be of the opinion that as good community citizens, beyond just board members looking out for the interests of District 65, but for the community as a whole, it makes a lot of sense for the community to own this piece of property as opposed to a private developer to own this piece of property and have that land developed in a way that is not consistent with the vision of the whole community at large. So we have made this offer, it's been accepted, and we're going to vote on that tonight. So if anybody would like to add to that add to those comments or say anything about those conversations we've had, please feel free to jump in.
I think the only thing I would add is that the strategic plan that was recently developed indicated that we would take a look at this property for potential future use and protect it in best interest of our community for those purposes. So it fits with our strategic thinking, and we're just trying to stay ahead of the curve.
And another thing that comes to mind is the contracts do protect us. We're doing our due diligence and having environmental testing done on the land, so nothing goes into effect until we get the results of those tests. And we see that they all pass and meet the standards that we need. So if we approve that tonight, it is still not effective until those tests come back and are accepted.
I think Julie. Okay.
Anybody else?
I'll just say one last thing. Once we get to a point where we have some ideas with regard to how we might use that property, the full community will be involved in those discussions, and there'll be a more open and transparent discussion with regard to that prospect.
I mean, it's important to say that the reason we have this conversation in executive session, in a private session, is because this is purchase of property, and we did not want to unnecessarily beat up the price by expressing our interest.
Yeah. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the purchase of lots 2 and 3, Green Bay Road, Lake Bluff, Illinois 60044, in the amount of $167,500.
So moved.
You always do this to me, you know.
John, second. How about that?
Charlotte, Roseanne.
I'm going to roll call vote, please.
Richard Heck,
Yes.
Christine Letchinger, yes. John Morosen,
Yes.
Mark Berry,
Yes.
Leanne Charlo,
Yes.
Julie Gottschall.
Yes.
That the motion is approved. So now, item 5D, personnel report. May I have a motion to approve the personnel report dated May 13th, 2014, as presented by the administration and included in your board packet, which includes a Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA, request, is that what we call that? Yeah, for Anna Groth at the middle school, 8th grade language arts teacher from August 21st, 2014 to October 27th, 2014, as well as employment of Nicole King at the elementary school, a 2nd grade teacher for the amount of $46,505 effective August 14th. For Nell Ireland at the elementary school in kindergarten for an amount of $50,817 effective August 14, 2014. For Sally Verdon at the elementary school, who is a .8 FTE kindergarten special ed teacher for the amount of $59,701 effective August 14, 2014. As well as Erica Hansen at the elementary school as a social worker in the amount of $46,505 effective August 14th, 2014. So if I can have a motion for that, please.
So,
And a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Is there going to be discussion on this?
Sure.
Because I do have a question.
Of course.
As I recall it, there was discussion last time about a second social worker. Does this position represent the second social worker
Yes.
at LBS?
This is the second social worker.
And I thought that we were going to discuss that further.
No, that was.
Did I miss it? Did we discuss it further? I don't recall it. That's
That
entirely
was-
possible.
I think you might have been out of town actually.
Yeah.
when we-
yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, because I know that I had expressed I wanted to hear more about why we felt there was a need for another full-time social worker position at the school.
You know, the only question I have with all this position, there's some new position and some replacement position in there.
These are all replacement positions. The only one that's new is Erica, the social worker.
That's what I wanted to bring up.
And I'll have Kevin just give a brief synopsis. We actually talked about this for a couple different
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah, no, but I just wanted to clarify that
Correct.
Now I'm talking about why we need one.
All right.
All of the hiring that we are doing this evening and that we'll bring before you again, as there are more staff to hire at the next meeting, was discussed as a part of the staffing plan, which was approved at the board meeting in March or
I'm not, she just wants to know.
on March 18th. It was the night before my defense. So
Yes, it
March
was.
18th. And
Yeah.
there was a memo that was sent to all of the
Right.
board members
Yeah.
with backup and additional information as you had requested regarding the new social work position and why we needed that at Lake Bluff Elementary School. So all of these are replacements this evening, and the social work candidate that we are bringing in is not only has some experience working with kids in some really challenging populations, but also is a Spanish-speaking person and will bring a lot to our staff.
And when we talked about this, part of what was persuasive in the memo that we got was that the current social worker's time was heavily saturated with things that you can't change, like minutes for IEPs that are determined basically by law. I mean, if the child is assessed to need it, you have to do it. And her time was so saturated with that we were not able to implement other things like being able to do the social emotional wellness teaching that should be happening.
That's mandated.
Yeah.
So there was in fact, what we can do is I can resend the memo. You don't happen to have it on your computer?
No, the only reason I asked the question outside of social workers that for the sake of people out there in greater TV land that do not have a life, I think it's important to understand that, only there's one new position here and that everything else.
The rest, yes, and we can start doing that for these personnel
that would
reports.
be, yeah.
Because the other thing that I always like to put on personnel reports is whether it's a replacement or a new position. We haven't had new positions.
Correct.
So we'll go back, and Terry and I can work on that a little bit. And all the rest are just replacement positions. And we can work on that a little bit. So, and Kevin's going to look to see if he has
I have the
it.
memo.
Okay.
What would you?
So, Julie, do you want him to just go over the highlights, or what would?
Well, I don't want to take up any more time, and if the rest of the board is satisfied that this is the right thing to do, can I abstain? Because I don't know that I'm persuaded this is the right thing to do. So I will look at the memo, and in the meantime, you can go ahead and vote.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve the personnel report?
We have a motion and a second already.
Okay, we have a first and second. Roll call vote, please.
Christine Letchinger, yes. John Rosen,
Yes.
Mark Berry,
Yes.
Leanne Shallow,
Yes.
Julie Gottschall,
Abstaining.
Rich.
Richard Haig.
Yes.
Motion is passed.
Can I make a quick announcement on school makeup?
Sure.
Since we're at the end.
Go for it.
I just wanted to, I've tried to keep all the board members informed of our school closure this morning. And I will share that by 6:30, which is the latest we can possibly call school. And actually, that was late. We had staff members that were just starting to arrive. We had 2 viaducts and a road closed. And after talking to the chief of police and our transportation, there just was, it would be impossible to get everybody here. Kids would be on buses well over an hour, if not longer. And so, as you know, we called school. We did spend some time, actually, Terry's the hero in this. She called the Regional Office of Education, she called the state, she did a lot of talking, and the bottom line is that we don't have to make up the day of school. When they counted all of our days and looked at all of our numbers, and because of the fact that our report calendars already been approved for the end of the year, we don't have to do a makeup day for today. That information went out today to all of our stakeholders, all of our families, but I wanted to impress that. The other thing that we'll spend some time looking at over the summer to see if there's any way we can do it, keeping in mind that we do transportation with Lake Forest schools, is we could see if a possibility of a Lake Start might work for us. In the past, I know that they've used those here. I see with all the cancellations we've had this year, it would have been nice to have something like that on one of our cold days. I don't know if it would have made a difference on a day like today. The viaduct here didn't open until 10 o'clock, and in order for the day to have counted, our elementary school kids would, I think when I looked at it, would have to be in school about 9:15 to start school, because I looked at our early release days. If they're not in school by that time, the day doesn't count as a day of student attendance. So I think it's important that people know that piece. The other piece is if we were to do an early or a late start, it really forces Lake Forest to take a look at theirs because we share transportation with them. So I'm going to need to talk to their superintendent because it directly impacts their transportation.
So it's not a simple thing to do.
It's not simple, but we need to take a look at it. As usual with any kind of closing, I had many emails from parents saying thank you for, there's no way I would have wanted to bring my kids out this morning. I had other parents saying we needed to have school today. So I'm in a no-win situation, and I realize that, and I have to do what is best for kids. And I really didn't want kids on buses over an hour, not to mention the fact that we still have elementary kids walking to school by themselves without parents in some cases. And from what I understand, because I could only look at it via pictures, the flooding was very bad on some of our streets. And I know Olson Transportation told me this morning at 6:15 they were getting calls from some of our parents saying you can't even make it anywhere near our street. So you think of little ones trying to make it to school, and that also is a decision we have to keep in mind. So the good news is that we don't have to make up the day. The bad news is we still have several weeks of school, and every time it rains now, I will probably be breaking out in a cold sweat to worry about it a little bit. So it is a big issue, but I think the late start is going to need to be looked into for next year, see if it's in any way possible.
Jean, I was curious, so I don't believe we had a rain flood day last year, but I think we did the year before.
Right.
And that wasn't the first one either. I think this happens every couple of years or so.
4 years ago there was one just
was
like
it
today.
4? Okay. One of the questions I had when that decision was made is if we're picking up kids in buses, and for example, you can't get down 176, but maybe you could go up to Zion and cut across, or something. Is there some limit for how far away you can take kids on a long bus ride to get them to school? And this is unfair to pop that question on you now, because who knows, maybe some arcane law, but
Previously, when we've kind of battled the viaduct under 176 coming up, and it's been flooded. And so Olson's will try to reroute either by going north and cutting on Buckley Road or south. So we certainly can do that. It's just a matter of time.
And if it's just that intersection.
right, because I looked today and I think there was a problem on Buckley, and it looked like Green Bay was backed up too. So there may not have been a way around, but I was curious if because some people may not want their kids to be
In
driven that
41
far
or
around.
so.
Do you know how long they can
Yeah, in
be
41
put on a
too.
bus for that?
There is no law.
Okay.
There's no limit.
There's no law, but certainly there is.
Common sense and yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
For my comparison, because I did a little research today, this exact same kind of day with both the viaducts and several roads closed happened about 4 years ago this month, and school was canceled. In retrospect, looking at last year, we had another day just like this last year. Being new to Lake Bluff, I had no idea how any of this happened. We only had the viaduct closed, that was it. We did not cancel school, and I had more phone calls that day than I've had on any decision since I've been here.
Well, the thing is, because we ran school, but buses then were late, and people are like standing out in torrential downpour. I think it's got to be just a tough call to make, and you got to do the safest thing. But.
Well, and just so you can have a little laugh as we wrap up tonight, as I shared with our administrators, the same time I was on the phone with transportation and with our staff making decisions, my husband was downstairs dealing with a skunk out in our backyard. So the neighbors were all out with that, and it was one chaotic situation after another. So I will be anxious to get home tonight, and hopefully we will not have a skunk as a visitor when I return there.
Good luck.
Thank you. So that's our update. All the information was set on an alert and posted on our website.
And as we always do, we wrap up our evening by asking if there's any additional public comments from our one audience member. And reminding people if they'd like to comment to please come up to our meetings. We have a beginning and an ending comment period, or feel free to reach out to the administrators or to the board members from our contact information on the website. So to conclude, can I have a motion to adjourn this special Board of Education meeting for May 13th, 2014 at 7:42?
Just a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.